Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One, and this is World DNA with me, Josna Kumar. Let's begin with the headlines. At least 18 people, including 3 children, killed in Stampede at New Delhi railway station. Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav orders high-level inquiry into the incident. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expresses sorrow over Stampede at New Delhi railway station, says authorities assisting all affected. Aircraft carrying second batch of Indian nationals who allegedly illegally migrated to the U.S. lands in Amritsar. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reaffirms U.S. President Donald Trump's commitment to end war in Ukraine in telephonic conversation with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. Marco Rubio arrives in Israel on the first leg of his tour to West Asia to meet Israeli officials and hold talks focusing on the remaining hostages held by Hamas, the ceasefire agreement in Gaza, as well as Iran. At least 2 dead and 4 injured in an Israeli strike on a vehicle in South Lebanon. Israeli army says it was targeting a senior militant from Hezbollah's aerial unit. At least 18 people, including 9 women and 5 children, have died in a stampede at New Delhi railway station when surging crowds scrambled to catch trains for Mahakumbh in Prayagraj. According to officials, the incident took place around 10 p.m. local time on Saturday when an unprecedented rush of passengers were waiting to board trains to Prayagraj on platform 14 and 15. The stampede occurred after 2 trains to Prayagraj got cancelled, which resulted in chaos on the platform. The situation spiraled out of control as people rushed to board the special train. And amid the sudden surge, some passengers fainted, which sparked rumors of a stampede, which again led to further panic and multiple casualties. Passengers were angry over the incident, and questions are being raised on the railway administration.
वहाँ पे 16 नंबर पे अलाउंस हुआ कि 12 नंबर पे आएगा, तो 12 नंबर पे आए। कुछ देर के बाद बोल दी अलाउंस हो गया कि 16 नंबर पे जाएगा। इसी चलते भगदड़ हो गया, वहाँ पे जाम हो के आदमी मर गए चपाके।
इधर से पब्लिक भागी, उधर से पब्लिक भागी, दोनों
टक्कर हो गया चपाके। पुलिस भी कह रहा है कि अपने से जाओ। ट्रेन में आदमी बोला कि सर चढ़ा दीजिए, तो बोला मैं नहीं, आप लोग खुद से चढ़ो। मैं लोग खुद से चढ़ूंगी, उन लोग की नौकरी क्यों मिला है खुद से चढ़ने के लिए? चाकू भी मारने लगे, जेब भी काटने लगे।
अच्छा, यहाँ कुछ लोगों ने जेब काट लिया।
हाँ, काट लिया, मेरे हाथ पे लग गया, चाकू लग गया हाथ पे।
और उसके बाद लोगों को यहाँ से समय पे ले जाया गया। यहाँ जो लोग जो घायल थे
सबको ले जाया गया, सब झाड़ू मरवा के जूता चप्पल सब हटा दिया गया। यहाँ के पुलिस बोल रहा है कुछ नहीं हुआ है, कुछ नहीं कैसे हुआ है, मौत हो गया, कुछ नहीं हुआ।
1 घंटे पहले से प्लेटफॉर्म पे खड़ा था, ट्रेन में चढ़ नहीं पाए, इतनी भीड़, सारे टॉयलेट सब में भरे पड़े हैं, कहीं कोई जगह नहीं।
नहीं हम लोग अंदर नहीं जाने देते।
अंदर जगह ही नहीं, ट्रेन में ही जगह नहीं, चढ़ ही नहीं पाए, और कोई वहाँ बिठाने वाला कोई नहीं बैठा था जो हेल्प कर सके कि कोई यात्री चढ़ पाए ट्रेन में।
Initially, the Northern Railways CPRO denied that a stampede had occurred, calling it a rumor. However, soon after the incident, 4 fire engines were sent to the spot and additional security forces were deployed to control the situation. Railway Protection Force personnel and Delhi police officials assisted in evacuating the injured, who were rushed to nearby hospitals for medical treatment, and later NDRF team also arrived at the station.
क्राउड का अंदाजा हम लोगों ने लगाया था और सिचुएशन में बता रहा हूँ, जो पूरा टाइम फ्रैक्शन ऑफ द टाइम जिसमें 10 मिनट में हुआ, उसमें ज्यादा लोगों का आना, उसके अलावा 2 ट्रेन का डिले होना। बाकी ये मैटर जो है एग्जैक्टली जो फैक्ट फाइंडिंग है वो रेलवे की तरफ से फैक्ट फाइंडिंग होगी। हमारी तरफ से जो है, हमारा आज के दिन का काम एज ए जीआरपी हमारा है फॉर द इंक्वेस्ट एंड अदर प्रोसीडिंग, वो हमारी यूनिट कर रही है।
Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav announced a high-level investigation into the incident. In a post on social media, he also confirmed that 4 special trains were arranged to manage the unexpected rush with additional trains on standby. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed sorrow over the incident. He said he is distressed by the stampede at New Delhi railway station. The authorities are assisting all those who have been affected by this stampede. President Draupadi Murmu also posted on social media saying she is deeply anguished to know about the loss of lives in a stampede at New Delhi railway station. She extended her condolences to the bereaved families. And for more on latest information, we are now being joined by our correspondent Dharmjot Kaur from New Delhi railway station. Thank you so much, Dharmjot. We of course talked to you in the morning and you talked about what the situation is there. What is the latest that you can bring in from the authorities?
Well, just moments ago, Jyotsna, railway authorities have announced compensation for those who've been affected by the stampede incident. They've announced a compensation of 10 lakhs for families of people who lost their loved ones, 2.5 lakh for those who've been seriously injured, and 1 lakh for those with minor injuries. Now, this is compensation that's coming from the railways after the tragic incident that unfolded yesterday. I do have to mention one thing here, Jyotsna. Talking to people over here who are coming to catch their trains from different parts of Delhi and from neighboring states as well, it's surprising how many people do not know what really transpired here late last night, because people have been arriving here since wee hours of the morning. And it seems as business as usual. People have no idea that something this horrific happened just less than 12 hours ago at this very railway station.
Right, absolutely. That's also what I was coming to, because it seems like the railway administration, everything, they have handled the situation pretty well, considering that Ashwini Vaishnav also talked about the trains that were ran right after the incident happened to mitigate the whole situation. Well, of course, thank you so much for bringing us the latest, and of course we'll be keeping track of all that's happening on the ground. Moving on, a plane carrying 119 Indian deportees from the U.S. has landed in India's northern state of Punjab. And this is the second batch of Indians to be deported by the Donald Trump administration as part of its promised crackdown on illegal migration. The first batch arrived on 5th of February, and according to reports, of the 119 deportees, 67 are from Punjab, 33 are from Haryana, 8 from Gujarat, 3 from Uttar Pradesh, 2 each from Goa, Maharashtra and Rajasthan, and 1 each are from Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann reached the international airport in Amritsar to receive the deportees. He said his government has made arrangements to take the Punjab residents from among the second batch of deportees to their hometowns. And also that arrangement have been made for other deportees to stay in the state for a few hours before they are taken to their respective states. According to reports, a third plane carrying 157 deportees is expected to land on Sunday. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made his official visit to West Asia. This comes just hours after Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages. while more than 300 Palestinian prisoners were released by Israel as part of the ceasefire deal. Now, State Secretary Marco Rubio arrived in Tel Aviv on Saturday. According to a U.S. State Department, Rubio will likely hold talks with senior officials on the remaining hostages held by Hamas and a ceasefire deal in Gaza. The top U.S. diplomat will also travel to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, with just over 2 weeks left for the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal to come to an end, Israel and Hamas completed the 6th hostage prisoner swap on Saturday, and Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages that include 46-year-old Led Horn, 36-year-old Sagui Deker, and 29-year-old Alexander Trufanov. The released hostages were later handed to the Red Cross at Khan Yunis in Gaza. Following this, Israel released 369 Palestinian prisoners. Now, this comes just days after Hamas refused to release the hostages, saying that it will not bow down to threats from Israel or the U.S. However, U.S. President Donald Trump warned that if Hamas does not release the hostages, then all hell will break out. Now, following the hostage prisoner exchange, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed his gratitude towards U.S. President Donald Trump for his full support in Gaza. Now, in response, Trump posted on social media saying that Israel will now have to decide what they will do about the Sunday's deadline imposed on release of all the hostages. Meanwhile, in other developments, at least 2 have been killed and 4 injured after Israel launched an airstrike on a vehicle in southern Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces in a statement said that it conducted a precise and intelligence-based strike on a senior Hezbollah militant accused of repeatedly violating the ceasefire between Israel and the Lebanese militant group. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have advanced to the outskirts of Bukavu, the second largest city in the eastern region. The scenes of looting and lawlessness unfolded with the World Food Program warehouse being raided. And this is according to reports that also add that almost 7,000 tons of food grains have been stolen. Now, images do show large crowds carrying away white sacks of supplies. M23 rebels have been pushing south since seizing Goma, the largest city in the region, at the end of last month. On Friday, Corneille Nangaa, leader of a rebel alliance that includes M23, declared that the rebels had entered Bukavu and will continue their operations. While some residents reported seeing rebels in northern Bukavu, the city center remains under government control. Congolese military officials confirmed that the M23 has not yet taken full control of the city. Meanwhile, regional tensions are mounting. Uganda's chief of defense forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, issued a shocking threat on social media saying he will attack the Congolese town of Bunia unless all forces there surrendered within 24 hours. The United Nations has warned that the situation can escalate beyond control. Now, Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for immediate dialogue, stressing that there is no military solution.
In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Congolese people have been suffering yet again from a brutal cycle of violence. And the fighting that is raging in South Kivu as a result of the continuation of the M23 offensive threatens to push the entire region over the precipice. There is no military solution. The deadlock must end, the dialogue must begin, and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the DRC must be respected.
On the international front, the United States has warned of possible sanctions against both Rwandan and Congolese officials, while the European Parliament has called for the freezing of direct budget support to Rwanda. The EU is now considering urgent responses to the growing crisis. When moving on, the H5N1 avian influenza outbreak is spreading globally, affecting humans, livestock, and wildlife. In the United States, the virus has infected nearly 70 people since April 2024, primarily farm workers who were in direct contact with the infected poultry or dairy cattle. Now, health officials confirm that human-to-human transmission is unlikely, but recent cases among veterinarians with no known exposure have raised concerns about the evolution of the virus. In Wyoming, the state's first human case of H5N1 has been confirmed. The infected woman, who is currently hospitalized outside the state, had underlying health conditions and was likely exposed through a backyard poultry flock. Now, this marks the third reported instance of hospitalization due to the virus in the U.S. In India, avian influenza has infected wildlife, with 3 tigers and leopard dying from H5N1 at the Gorewada Rescue Center in Maharashtra state. Over 7,000 poultry birds have been culled and over 2,000 eggs have been destroyed in the 7 epicenters of the areas affected in the state by bird flu since January 1st. And this marks the first recorded case of virus infecting animals in the country. The Indian government has issued emergency guidelines advising states to quarantine infected or symptomatic animals to prevent further spread. Now, in the U.S., the mass culling of infected birds has led to a severe egg shortage, with prices surging to historic levels. Some states have temporarily suspended cage-free egg laws to boost supply, while major retailers like Costco and Trader Joe's have imposed purchase limits. Restaurants, including Waffle House, have added surcharges due to these skyrocketing costs, and despite efforts to control the virus, scientists warn that the outbreak remains unpredictable. And while people in our age and times are living longer than our predecessors, and this is all due to improved working conditions and improved healthcare, contributing to the increase in life expectancy. So how long do you think one can live? Well, UK's Office for National Statistics is trying to answer the question with available data using what it calls the ONS calculator. The predictions are modeled on past annual death registrations as well as inputs from an expert panel. Notably, they show a lower life expectancy for boys than girls. According to ONS figures, or the ONS figures, for children born in 2023, 17.9% girls and 11.5% of boys will live to celebrate their 100th birthday. And this figure is expected to increase to 19.9% for girls and 13.1% for boys born in 2030. And by 2047, 25% girls and 17.3% of boys will reach 100. When it says its data is an attempt to allow us to understand the size of the projected population at older ages, which is likely to policy making and service planning, of course, that will lead to that. Overall, the gap between male and female life expectancy at birth has fallen from 4.4 years in 1981 to 3.4 years in 2023. And this is rapidly shrinking. For instance, girls born in the UK in 2023 can expect to live on an average to an age of 90 years and boys to 86.7 years. This increases to 92.2 years and 89.3 years respectively for babies born in 2047. No note of caution though. The ONS data pertains to UK. Projected changes in mortality patterns for groups of people with the same year of birth will of course vary for other places. And while Netflix has finally responded to the massive scandal surrounding its leading Oscar contender, Emilia Perez, now the OTT giant's chief content officer, Bella Bajaria, addressed the controversy, reacting to the resurfaced racial tweets of the film star Carla Sofia Gascon. Now, Bajaria acknowledged the situation, calling it a bummer for many involved, including stars Zoe and Selena. She also praised Netflix awards team for their strong campaign in support of the film. However, Bajaria made it clear that Netflix stands by the movie, saying, "If you asked me today, knowing everything we do now, we would still buy the movie. It's incredible. It's creative. It's bold. That's what we look for, and it really resonated with people this year." Meanwhile, actress Selena Gomez also spoke out at a recent film festival, admitting that some of the magic has disappeared. Still, she stood by the project, saying, "I choose to be proud of what I've done, and I have no regrets. I would do this movie over and over again if I could." The controversy erupted in late January after Gascon's old social media post featuring racially charged comments about Black people, immigrants, and Islam resurfaced. Since then, Gascon, the first openly transgender performer ever nominated for an Oscar in an acting category, has repeatedly apologized and defended herself against accusations of racism and xenophobia. And with that, we call out to World Day. But before we wrap up, let's take a look at what's making headlines in the world of climate and all the climate stories across the world.
This week on the West Asia Post.
I think the point is how to make this work in a way that is good for everybody.
The Arab world reacts to Trump's Gaza plans. What are the stakes in bringing peace to the Palestinian enclave? As the world focuses on Gaza's future, Israel moves to increase its operations in the occupied West Bank. Also on the show, we talk about new government formations in Syria and Lebanon, and venture into the Gulf nations' leap into artificial intelligence.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION World is One.
This week on Tech It Out, we give you tips on how to extend your phone's life. Find out how London taxi drivers are inspiring tech researchers. And we show you China's latest robot dog. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
This week on Wings, the latest from Mahakumbh Mela in Prayagraj. AI art and culture on display in Paris for the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit. And watch WION visit Aero India 2025 in Bengaluru. Only on WION, World is One.
On Inside South Asia this week, Indian Prime Minister Modi's two big overseas visits, first to France and then the United States. On Inside South Asia, we tell you how artificial intelligence is powering India's growth story. 450 million people coming together for the Mahakumbh Mela translates for massive marketing opportunity and big revenue. 6 months of Muhammad Yunus in power. Where is Bangladesh headed? All this and much more on Inside South Asia.
Sudan's military chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan mulls formation of a technocratic wartime government after the recapture of Khartoum is completed. The Sudanese army has in recent weeks regained ground in the capital along several axes. New White House administration and Elon Musk's budget-cutting team abolishing federal programs like the USAID draws anger from Africa, with many who depended on the agency now distraught. And Nigerian artist Sheriff Abdul Rafiu has distinguished himself in the art scene with his unique technique of creating beautiful portraits by cracking glass. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION, World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
We're here to connect.
Celebrate the magic of love with our hand-picked romantic movies for Valentine's Day. Meet Indian actor Junaid Khan as he talks about his theatrical debut. And know all about the most stylish friend Jennifer Aniston. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION E-Club at these times.
Vielleicht nur